Oh, yeah.
From the alternative to the mainstream, from the ridiculous to the sublime, ladies and gentlemen, we bring you the audio delight that is the After Hours Show with Basil and Mark.
Are you feeling smooth, Basil?
Have we started?
We're started.
Oh, good. Hello.
We're smooth, everybody.
Good morning.
Good evening. And good afternoon. Do you remember the Saudi Arabian greeting?
No,
Me neither.
That's way back now. But
It's been a while now. But good morning and afternoon and evening to Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia.
Our number one downloader for
Europe,
reasons we do not understand.
And Africa.
Yes.
How are you today?
I think they're okay. I think they'll manage.
I think
I've got a load of stuff written down here. I've got a pile of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, so have I.
Go on, you go first then, because mine's more interesting. I'll save mine for later.
I think I want to address the abuse I've had on YouTube.
Abuse? YouTube abuse? Who would have thought that you'd get abuse on YouTube?
The laughter and the ridicule that I've suffered since the last show.
What did you do?
Since the guitarist and superglue incident.
Ah, yes, yes.
And I just want to make this clear that I was in fact quite correct.
Yes,
about, Mike Nesmith.
Nesmith, yes.
Guitarist of the Monkees.
Yes.
And his mother.
Mm-hmm.
Betty Nesmith Graham, inventor of liquid paper.
Uh-huh.
Tipex.
Yeah.
His mother invented it.
Mm-hmm.
She sold the idea to the Gillette Corporation in 1979 for $47.5 million.
Wow.
And then she died in 1980.
Fascinating.
An inventive family, the Smiths.
Well, they invented one thing.
No, not quite so.
Oh, really?
No.
There's more?
Mike Nesmith.
Oh, do tell me.
Invented MTV.
MTV? Can you invent a TV program?
It's not a TV program, it's a channel, isn't it?
Well, a channel, yeah.
Yeah, Mike Nesmith, he's...
It's not technically inventor, is it? It's more creator.
He's known as the stepfather of MTV.
The stepfather? Who's the father?
I don't know.
Who's the daddy?
Hey, that's a good one. Who's the father? If he's the stepfather, yeah.
And who's the mother?
Well, he sold...
there must be a mother if there's a stepfather.
I don't know. He's Mike Nesmith of the Monkees.
Yes.
He invented MTV.
Right. So MTV is the bastard child of somebody we don't even know.
You know who? Yes. Yeah, we don't know who the mother is. We don't know who the mother is. Yeah, he sold a half-hour pilot for a video show called Vox Pops.
Oh, yes,
to Time Warner. And they hammered it out into what was to become known as MTV.
Wow.
So, there you go.
Invent much else?
No, that's it.
Not really what you'd call an inventive family, just two things. One each.
Holy cow, Tipex and MTV. Pretty awesome.
Tipex? When's the last time you used Tipex?
What did you invent?
I invented UV glasses.
UV stick.
I invented... No, that's you who's it. I invented UV protection for sunglasses. I invented that when I was 12, and everybody laughed and took no notice of me. And I went, oh, okay, fair enough, it must be a stupid idea.
You didn't patent it, though, did you? And claim a fortune, hence we're sitting here.
I showed people how it worked. I said, here's the simple physics of it, and I showed them it, and they went, yeah, that would work.
Do you know how we were talking last week about Betty and Barney...
Rubble.
Yeah, honest to God, yeah. The two... who were abducted by aliens.
Yes.
No, I've forgotten that. Miller in 1961, and that's where the this thing about the Greys came from.
Yes.
With that was the first illustration or identification of the Greys.
Go on.
Well, there's another interesting saying.
Yes.
And we were talking about Jim Jones, Reverend Jim Jones.
I remember you mentioning his name. What did he do again?
Well, he was, I was going to say he invented, I better stop saying invented.
Remind us, listeners, who the hell is Jim Jones?
Well, Jim Jones, he had a church.
With a reverend, so that's
in the 70s.
Yes.
In America. And basically he flew to Guyana, I think, in South America. Am I right?
Yes.
And he...
French Guyana,
he built his own town there called Jonestown for his followers.
He's the cultist guy, isn't he?
He's the cultist guy. And it became known as the Jonestown Massacre.
Yes, we did a On This Day for him last time, didn't we?
We sure did.
Now I
And,
remember him.
909 people committed suicide.
Wow.
909.
That's a lot of Kool-Aid.
Now, you shouldn't have said that, because you kind of ruined me now, because...
No, that's not how they killed them, is it?
yeah.
No way!
Oh, wow. They had they had tanks and tanks.
I knew nothing about this until just now.
They had tanks of Kool-Aid filled with cyanide, and all of the followers drank it. And this is where you get the saying from, don't drink the Kool-Aid. It was from the Jonestown Massacre, but you ruined it. You jumped in there before I was just building up to it.
Crapped on your punchline.
You sure did. See, have I got anything else written here? No, there's no point now.
That's funny.
It's called the People's Temple, but actually it was, I always was under the impression it was a religious commune in South America, but actually it was communism.
Yeah.
He made that clear. It was all about communism.
Communes are communist.
Yeah, commune.
Ist.
Yes, yeah. What have you got on your stack there?
Actually, I've got a lot of stuff here that I've been carrying over for ages. One of them that I was going to talk about, let me see. I want to talk about... What will I do? I want to talk about Barbie.
Oh, yeah.
I've got an interesting story about Barbie.
How interesting.
It's reasonably interesting. I'm not allowed to own a Barbie doll. This is a personal story.
Okay.
I'm not allowed to own a Barbie, ever.
Right. Oh, you did something to it.
Because if I did own one, or even held one, and got photographed next to one, I'd be in contravention of a High Court injunction in England.
Really?
Yes.
Well, how could that be? This is quite... I'm intrigued.
Somebody actually mentioned something the other day that spurred me on. He was talking about... I think he was talking about Klaus Barbie. I forgot who it was that we were talking to. Some interview we were doing. I can't remember who it was now. I bought Barbie.co.uk years ago. We were talking about buying domains the other day with... Who was it? I can't remember who it was. And I bought Barbie...
Oh, it was Paul Gershio.
Paul Gershio, yes.
Project,
yeah. Barbie without an E on the end. And I emailed them and said, Mattel, this is, and said, if you're interested in buying it, let me know, because I've got lots of other interest, including a pornographer. Needless to say, they slapped a massive injunction on me, and I had to go to the High Court, where I defended myself because I had no money.
Okay.
And basically, I just buckled. I'd literally got no money. I had to get them to pay for the tube fare and for my lunch to go there.
But who prosecuted you? Did they have
Mattel.
They had their own solicitor in the High Court?
They had already accrued £17,000 worth of fees by the time the injunction had got to my house and I knew anything about it.
Wow.
They got a High Court justice to sit the same day and dispatch an injunction, which must have cost them a fortune. And they were suing me for, I think it was $125 million for losses until the end of time.
If you didn't desist, is that it?
Yeah.
So you desist pretty
I desisted
quickly.
a lot.
Yeah. It's lucky they didn't take any... I
had literally no money. There wasn't anything they could have taken.
Wow. That's interesting. Anything else?
No, that was it, really. Yeah, that was pretty much the end of the story.
There's another saying.
Yeah. I had to go to the High Court to swear in front of the justice that I would do it.
Or that you wouldn't do it.
Yeah. Do you know the big arches that they show you on the news at the High Courts in London? The big sort of ornate archway?
I know it very well.
They're always standing outside.
It's in Victoria, the Royal Courts, isn't it?
I'm not sure where it is, actually, to be honest with you. I think it was it Embankment I got off at, or Strand or somewhere, I can't remember. But I went through the thing there and through the metal detectors and wandered off to my courtroom.
Yeah. I'm not going to say how, but I do know the High Court in...
Yeah. Okay, so that was it. It reminded me the other day.
Well, I guess we're banging on about sayings a bit today, but there's a saying that Reagan had.
Yeah.
Not one red cent. Have you ever heard him say that?
I have heard that, yeah.
Do you know in what context he...
I think it was
Lord.
to do with the...
You weren't meant to answer.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you what I think.
Yes,
my understanding is...
Yes, you tell me your understanding.
It was regarding the Federal Reserve.
Right.
And the Federal Reserve in America is a private bank. It's not remotely federal.
No.
Correct?
Correct.
Okay. That's a hard concept now to get through to people. Am I being clear enough on that?
Go to if you live in New York, go to your phone book and look in the
Yeah.
government section and try and find the Federal Reserve in New York.
Yeah.
You'll not find it. It's under the commercial pages.
It's not remotely federal.
Yeah.
It's got nothing to
No,
do.
it's not.
It's basically what it is. It's a private bank that the government owes money to.
It's owned by J.P. Morgan, Warburgs, Rockefellers, all those
Correct.
people. Yeah.
And the government are in the American U.S. government are in constant debt to the Federal Reserve.
Yes, the more they print, the more in debt they are.
Yeah,
Because they
right.
can only pay them back in the money that they borrow from them.
So what Reagan was saying...
What a great scam.
What Reagan said when he was saying 1 red cent, he was
Yeah.
saying that all of the tax money that you pay does not go into infrastructure and hospitals and roads, not 1 red cent. It's paid to the Federal Reserve,
Right.
the private bank.
Yeah.
And that's where that saying came from.
What's red about it?
Well, just red cent. I don't think there was any particular meaning in that. It's just, there's a saying, I'm down to my last red cent.
I've never heard that one.
It just means...
I've heard him saying not 1 red cent.
Yeah,
Ah.
yeah.
I actually thought it was something to do with the funding of the rebels in Nicaragua or somewhere like that.
Yeah, well, it looks like we've both got... Well, I think my meaning sounds a bit more...
Well,
mine is better,
maybe.
basically, than
Maybe.
yours. But then again, this person I was chatting to this a person yesterday about it, and they said, "Oh, well, how did he get away with saying that?" And I said, "Well, I don't think he did. I think he was shot pretty shortly afterwards."
John Hinckley.
There was an assassination attempt on him, wasn't there?
John
I think-
Hinckley trying to impress Jodie Foster. How weird is that?
That's right.
What is that all about?
I don't know. Did John Hinckley have any other kind of history, or
I don't know.
is this a Derren Brown kind of thing that we were
I have
talking?
no idea. I'd love to find out if there is any sort of weird, woman in the polka dot dress type
Well,
MK Ultra affair going on.
I
It's
hate.
very weird.
Did you know that one of the Manson family members, Squeaky, actually,
Squeaky Manson.
when she got out of prison, no, she wasn't Manson, but when she got out of prison, she actually made another assassination attempt on somebody, but I'm not sure who it is at the moment. I was going to save it for next week, but
Do yes,
MK Ultra.
savor it. Yes. All right. I've got important information. Hang on. No, hang on. Ladies and gentlemen, important announcement time. We, this week,
Oh, yeah.
for reasons unknown to us, other than our pure excellence and our motto, excellence through ignorance, we were featured on the front page of iTunes. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's great.
We had, as one might imagine, a sudden spike in downloads.
We were a top 5 editors' picks
Yeah.
on iTunes.
What's that? New and noteworthy, it said.
Yeah, pretty exciting.
I'm not sure. I mean, we're reasonably new, but noteworthy?
Noteworthy. And we've been doing very well on the download front, on very
Big
well.
time.
On
I mean,
iTunes.
last time I think it was 2 out there after hours ago, we were at 10,000 downloads. I think now we're probably over 14,000 by the time this airs.
Yeah, so just thanks, everybody.
What's that all about?
Whoever is downloading it, thank you very much.
We're pushing the envelope, literally.
We appreciate it
Yeah.
enormously, and we hope to keep you entertained and amused. For
Bemused, yeah. JP Morgan lost 2 billion quid this week. What do you think of that?
Good.
Good, yeah. I imagine Max Kaiser's going to say that it's all his fault for getting people to buy silver, but
Is that why? How did he lose the 2 million?
I think they just backed the wrong horse, basically.
Or did he just drop it out of his back pocket the way you might lose two
JP Morgan,
pounds?
yeah, they could have done, yeah. They probably bought an excessive amount of staplers or something.
I haven't got a top 10 or a top 5 this week.
I've got 2.
I've got
One of them is all right. One of them is fantastic.
Well, I've got a top 4.
Oh, go on.
Angry comedians.
Angry comedians.
With a message.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that.
Yeah.
That's good.
I'm going to start.
Well, I would have done
To
that.
give you an idea,
Go on, go
kind
on.
of thing. I mean, are you familiar with George Carlin?
I know of him.
He's the guy who coined that phrase, and it's really good. He said about the American dream.
Yeah, you
Well,
have to
it-
be asleep to believe
Believe it, yeah. And like, they're a very funny guy. He was angry, very controversial.
Yeah.
Here I've got Bill Hicks as well.
Yeah, he was pretty angry.
Deceased Bill Hicks.
I imagine he's probably more angry at Dennis Leary for robbing all his material.
Yeah, I bet. I bet.
Word for word.
Dennis Leary is not a patch on Bill Hicks. I've got Richard Pryor here, who was pretty bloody angry.
Do you think he was angry?
in the 70s? You
He
should
was a
check
bit
him out.
angry.
You should have a
Yeah.
listen to him.
He was a bit angry.
But I'm going to pick the very first one here. I've got this guy called Lenny Bruce.
Who?
Lenny Bruce, and you think he's not well known? You think he's not famous?
Not in my head.
Back in the 60s, well, if he wasn't, why did Dustin Hoffman make a film about him? Dustin Hoffman starred as Lenny Bruce.
What was the film
in
called?
a movie called Lenny. It was an award-winning film that doesn't it's not seen very much, but
hence why I've not seen it.
Lenny Bruce had a lot of what would you call it? Trouble and harassment from police, and although he died young of a drugs overdose, but he was kind of
as is the tradition.
He was the original back in the 60s, angry comedian, bad language, controversial subjects. Yeah, he was a firebrand.
Interesting.
Completely forgotten about.
Never heard of him.
We'll cover Lenny a bit more.
Yeah, we'll do that in depth. Okay. Yeah, I'll get the bells ready and we'll get the top 5 movie villains.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Well, Darth Vader.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Well, yeah, you know.
Well, I'll just start at number 5 then, shall I, instead?
Go ahead.
Number 5, Kurgan from Highlander.
Oh, yeah, I don't remember. I liked Highlander, but...
Yeah, Kurgan. Yeah. I have something to say. It's better to, hang on, burn up than to fade away.
There can be only one.
Yes, apparently. Now... I found a list of somebody else's movie villains, and I didn't really agree with a lot of them, so I reordered quite a lot of them, and some of them I just dropped. But I quite like this guy, mainly because I like the film. Drax from Moonraker. Number 4.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, exactly. Now, number 3, Hans from Die Hard, Alan Rickman. Hans!
A confession time. I've never seen Die Hard.
You've never seen Die Hard? No. Come to New York, have a good time. Wow, lost on you.
You've never seen Lenny with Dustin Hoffman.
Nobody has.
An award-winning film.
Award-winning, yeah.
It's good.
So was Raging Bull. That was also crap.
It was kind of like Raging Bull. It was filmed in black and white as well.
I rest my case.
Oh, you don't think Raging Bull was good?
Sack of crap.
Yeah.
Le sac de merde.
Yeah, well, it's 50-50 on that.
Well,
one.
it was bloody Robert De Niro, wasn't it?
Well, it's just one of those. It's one of those films. It's Robert De Niro. It's just one of those films.
He's awful.
Where you either love it, or people love it, or they hate it.
Yeah, the ones who taste hate it. Number 2.
Joe Pesci was in it as well, by the way.
Good grief.
Raging Bull.
Number 2, Alex, who you probably won't know what film he's from.
He's a supercomputer.
Alex, yeah. I think we've moved on since supercomputers. He was it's actually, I didn't know this, it was the name of the bad guy from A Clockwork Orange.
Oh, I did know
the
that.
group leader.
Yeah, he's wow, what's his name? McDowell?
Alex, I don't know his real name.
The actor was it was based on a book by a guy called Anthony Burgess. It was a very controversial book as well, and it was his vision of the future.
Yeah.
And kind of...
Do you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Woody Allen's The Sleeper. All the rooms, the architecture, and the way it actually looked, it looked just like it.
Well, I'll have a look at The Sleeper, but Anthony Burgess had this thing, I'm not sure when he wrote the book.
It would have been early 60s.
Early 60s, and he had this thing about language. It was like a sort of, he had a future peek at text.
Robbed it from 1985. 1984.
1984. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, well,
robbed it.
People borrow from each other, don't they?
Yeah. Number 1.
It was a banned film for a very long time.
It was, yeah. Number 1, Darth Vader, previously ruined by you. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Darth Vader's he's got to be number 1.
He's got to be number 1, hasn't he? There's not even any point in considering anybody else.
The reason Darth Vader was so effective was because he was a sympathetic villain.
Really? Yeah, I suppose he kind of was. He tried to redeem himself at the end.
He was a bad guy, but he didn't want to be bad.
Yeah.
Really, we found out.
Yeah. I was only doing my job.
Well.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I've got something else. I've got another top 5, but it's not really... Now, this is somebody else's top 5.
I kind of love top 5s.
I robbed this from crack.com, and it was written by a guy who only calls himself Gladstone, but I'm crediting it to him because one of the 5 I don't actually understand because I've never seen the program, but I'm leaving them in his order.
Okay.
Now, this is the top 5 Jewish sci-fi characters and people and programs.
I was looking at that.
Did you look at that?
I was going to do it, and I
But you
dropped it.
didn't touch
I dropped it because
you got your 20-foot pole out and thought it doesn't quite reach.
I thought it was a bit controversial.
So that's why I picked it.
You know, Israel's listening. Israel,
Number
it's not
5
us, it's cracked.
Yeah, hence why I gave the precursor.
Yeah,
there.
definitely.
Although I think actually the guy who wrote it is in fact Jewish. Number 5, Star Wars, the Jawas and Watto. But I don't know what Watto is actually. I think he's the guy who flies with the wings, isn't he?
He is in episode 1.
Looks just like Gonzo.
He's into grabbing money. He's
Yeah.
all, you know,
Well, the Jawas were basically just like stereotypical Jewish. They were, like, "Ooh, give me the money, give me the money, give me the money."
I tell you what, though, the Jawas were completely cool, weren't they?
They were cool, yeah. But they were stereotypically Jewish.
Oh.
I think that there was somebody somewhere was having a bit of a laugh.
Well,
that
maybe
day.
they were kind of, like, what would you call them? Travellers.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
What do they call them in the
Nomads? I don't know. Number 4, Star Trek, the Ferengi.
Yeah.
Another very stereotypical Jewish image.
Oh, this is a bit. I don't know about this.
Oh, this gets better.
Oh, wow,
actually,
come on.
this ends on a crescendo.
Okay, go
This
on.
ends on a crescendo. It starts.
I'm not comfortable with
It
this.
starts off with 2 not very great examples.
Go on,
right?
go on, keep going.
Right? Number 3 is a program called Firefly, which was a sci-fi that I never really got into.
Yeah.
And it just says Amon and Mr. Universe, but I didn't watch it, so I
Well,
don't get
maybe
that.
somebody who's watched it. I'm not.
Yeah,
I don't watch a lot of
I have
sci-fi.
no idea what they're about. Now, number 2 is the really interesting one. V
Yeah.
and the Scientists. It says here, scientists figuratively and Abraham Bernstein literally. Now, I remember Abraham Bernstein, he was a Jewish-y character and he lived through the Holocaust and all that kind of stuff.
Oh,
but
yeah.
when you think about it, and there's a little video about this, and I think I've got it on our YouTube channel, I'll put it on the website. When you think about it, the scientists were basically representing the Jews in World War II. It was literally a ripped straight out of World War II Nazi Germany and replaced the names. The scientists were the Jews and the aliens were the Nazis. And they were basically saying, "Oh yeah, scientists are bad and they do this and they do that," and people were picking on, "Oh yeah, you're the scientist's kid, aren't you?" and kicking them and that kind of thing. And there were no scientists allowed in this shop and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It was straight out of 1939 Nazi Germany.
Sorry, who were the scientists in V? Were they the humans?
The human scientists who were trying to find what was actually going on with these aliens, the lizard men, and trying to kill them or find ways to get rid of them. They were sold.
So
the aliens were selling this image of the scientists being somehow manipulative and evil and all that.
Interesting.
And they were saying, "No, you're not allowed in this shop," and all that kind of stuff. It was literally straight out of 1939 Nazi Germany. Yeah. So that's a bit more positive, isn't it?
Yeah, that's good.
It's modern day.
Oh, absolutely.
Number one, which I'm not really sure if I agree with this one. I think number 2 is more interesting. Number 1, Independence Day. Ooh. Julius and David Levinson, which is what's his name? Jeff Goldblum and his dad, I assume, who were Jewish in the actual film.
But he is Jewish, isn't he?
But he got to be number 1. I assume so.
I think so, yeah.
Goldblum, yeah. He's number 1, apparently, because he's just basically a kick-ass Jew guy in a film.
Was that his actual father in the film with it all?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Well, I think that...
Maybe it was.
Can you remember the name?
But he got to be number 1 just because he got to kick ass and smoke cigars and kill the aliens, while simultaneously being Jewish, which apparently is somewhat a task.
No, I'd like to say something. I'd like to address something.
Oh, go on, do it.
Because
I'll bury that one.
Boy, I can't. Yeah, well, I wouldn't do it. I didn't touch it. I saw it and I said no.
No.
I moved on, but you actually.
I went.
Okay,
both hands.
Well, there's a more. There's a World War II film, and I've forgotten the name, but it's starring Daniel Craig. And most war films, they always show the Jews as being compliant with the Germans, but they forget about these ones that were hiding out in the woods and fighting the Germans.
I've got something to say about that later.
Do you want to say it now? Or?
I've got one little bit. It's from On This Day, so I'm not going to do it.
What was the name of the film with Daniel Craig?
I can't stand him, so I have no idea. I don't watch his films.
Yeah, but it was a good film, though. It was just showing not all Jewish people just laid down and took it.
I'd imagine a lot didn't.
A lot of them fought back.
One would think.
Yeah.
Shall I do On This Day, seeing as I mentioned it?
Yeah.
Because I've got a few here. Some of them are interesting, some of them not so much. Right, okay, I'll rattle through the less interesting ones. 1770, Marie Antoinette married Louis the 16th in France, age 15. She was 14. Congress authorised the minting of the nickel, 1866. Nickels were new.
Okay.
1868, the impeachment of President Andrew Johnson failed. Don't know much about that.
Just don't know.
Gloss over that one. 1920. 1920? Oh, yeah. Joan of Arc was canonised in Rome.
Yep.
So there you go. 1929, the first Academy Awards were presented during a banquet at the Hollywood Roosevelt
Sorry,
Hotel.
what year?
29.
Oh, 20. Going back a fair bit. That's at the very beginning of moving.
Yeah, they've been patting themselves on the back for nearly 100 years.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Here's the interesting one. 1943, in Poland, the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising came to an end when Nazi soldiers took control of the Jewish ghetto and began mass deportation of the remaining dwellers to the Treblinka extermination camp. So there was an uprising in Warsaw by said Jews. So just to prove your point.
It came to a point that because it's like we're almost in the situation today. It's only a small percentage that are going to actually stand up against perceived tyranny.
Yeah.
And most people will go along to get along.
Yeah, most people just watch.
Yeah.
1966, Cultural Revolution, Chinese Communist Party Chairman Mao.
Ooh.
Yeah.
There would have been genocide involved there, I'm guessing.
Cultural Revolution.
Yeah, nice way of putting
Cultural Revolution. It sounds like they were all doing painting and sculpture and
I
things.
wish. I don't think it was quite like that.
1968, a London tower block collapsed and 3 people died. Didn't know that.
That's serious
I
stuff.
didn't get the name of it.
That's bad.
Yeah. Let me see. 1985, in England, 2 coal miners were jailed for the murder of a taxi driver. I think they threw something off a bridge. I think I vaguely recollect
Was it a lark or...?
I don't know. Maybe they were drunk. I have no idea. I think it was during the miners' strike.
Wow.
That'd be 1985, wouldn't it?
Maybe it was something politically motivated.
Maybe. Japanese authorities arrested Shoko Ashihara, a doomsday cult leader who was linked to the nerve gas attack on Tokyo's subway system, 1995.
That's big. That's a big story.
Yeah.
That needs more attention.
You look into that in detail while I gloss over it.
Yeah.
2001, John Prescott, English MP stroke knob, punches a protester.
Yeah, I remember
It's
that.
probably the one day in his entire life that he wasn't a knob.
It was a bit of a lady punch. I remember looking at it.
True, but he did punch him.
He doesn't know how to throw a punch.
I think
John
more
Prescott.
politicians should be a bit braver and a bit more, I think he's a complete communist, and I dislike him, but at least he's fighting. 2005, Newsweek retracted an article on the Quran, which sparked deadly protests in Afghanistan, leaving 15 people dead and scores injured. Yeah. And then we'll move over those ones. Oh, yeah. Speaking of which, 2005, Army Specialist Sabrina Harmon. Do you know this one? Convicted of 6 of the 7 charges she faced for her role in the mistreatment of Iraqi prisoners in Abu Ghraib.
I sure do remember
She
that.
was the photograph girl, wasn't she, I think?
Yeah. Wait, give me the name again.
Sabrina Harmon.
I thought it was a young woman called England.
Oh, maybe. Maybe there's more than one. I can't remember.
It was pretty atrocious.
Yeah,
It was
this one was,
horrible.
yeah.
It was horrible.
Mentalist.
And it's still going on.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Of course it is. They just stopped taking pictures. 1905. You'd have to be stupid to take pictures, wouldn't you?
But look, Mark, that was coming from the top.
Yeah.
know.
1905. Henry Fonda. He was born.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's old.
Yeah. I assume he's dead.
Okay.
1919. Liberace.
Born. Liberace, for people who
Born,
don't
yeah.
know, he was the extravagant and
Concert pianist and
constant
entertainer.
pianist. I quite enjoyed Liberace.
You did really? Do you know what his first name was?
No.
Vladziu.
Wow.
Yeah. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Vladziu.
Yeah, he was a huge star in the 70s, Liberace.
He's got a Polish first name and an Italian second name.
Yeah.
I think it might be a stage name. Piers Brosnan, 1953, Irish-born actor.
Yep.
He was born.
James Bond, Remington Steele.
So happy birthday, Piers Brosnan, seeing as you're the only one who's still alive. Well done. Please,
His wife is dead.
Is she really?
She died of cancer, yeah.
Oh dear, well she's not on this list. Speaking of deaths, 1984, Andy Kaufman. Thank God he is dead.
I didn't get him.
He was awful.
I didn't understand it.
Awful.
Actually, it kind of used to worry me that he was so unfunny to me, and yet people thought he was some kind of comedy genius.
Yeah.
But I still haven't.
But he
got
wasn't.
It. Will I get it? Will I understand in 20 years' time when
Never.
I've matured?
No, you never will, because it just wasn't funny. It was about as funny as a plank.
What the hell was going on there?
Nothing. That's the whole point. It was an idiot.
It's like the Emperor's New Clothes. Everybody's
Completely, yeah. Very much so.
Yeah.
Like these arts program. Oh yeah, well, I look at the presence of the woman's face in the background, and it tells me about her pain in her childhood. It's a brick.
Yep.
You idiot. It's a brick. 1990, death. Sammy Davis Jr. Age 64.
Church of Satan.
Church of Satan, but also very good. I like Sammy Davis Jr.
And Jewish.
He was
and
Jewish.
Black.
How can he have been in the Church of Satan and famously Jewish? How can he have done that?
Famously Jewish. I think he converted to Judaism.
From Satanism?
Well, he dabbled in the Church of Satan. I guess it was...
While he was Jewish?
It was a celebrity thing for a while to do that. Jane Mansfield also was a good few celebrities. And
Yeah. But anyway, I like him.
Seemed like a good idea at the time. Everybody liked Sammy Davis.
How can you not like Sammy Davis Jr.?
Absolutely.
He was original Brat Pack. Fantastic.
I'm with you on that.
He's just brilliant.
Yeah.
1990, Jim Henson, age 53.
1990. You don't realise he's dead, do you?
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
Did you happen to see...
22 years ago.
Did you see the latest Muppet movie?
Thankfully not.
Yeah, I did, and I quite.
Is it still Sting?
I like the Muppets to a fair extent, but what I don't like is musicals, and it was a very musical film.
I like a little bit of a musical.
What else are you going to confess?
Oh,
hi.
Oh, there you go.
Somebody said hello to us on Skype.
Yes. Oh, Dan Willis.
Who's Dan Willis?
He is coming on the show in June. He is part of the Disclosure Project.
Oh, great.
Yeah, he is...
Is this guy who was in the Navy?
Yeah. He's quite good.
Oh.
I like him.
Oh, hello, Dan.
Yeah, I've been talking to him a little bit.
Nice. Yeah, we got our guests have become friends.
Yeah. They hang out.
Yeah.
You know, the rich, the famous, the influential. They just phone us and hang out. That's what we do.
That must have thrown you off. Sorry, go ahead.
Not really. I was at the end of the list.
Oh, great.
See, professional. Don't let you disturb me.
I haven't got a top 10.
I've got. Ooh, have you got something else?
I've got.
Because I've been going on there.
I was mentioning it. There's just this weird thing about Turkey and Turkish remakes.
Ah, right. Not the actual meat turkey, because I like turkey.
The country turkey. They seem to have made all of the big Hollywood blockbusters.
Yes,
remade them.
They have
themselves.
Same as the Indians.
The Indians do that. So they made First Blood, or remade First Blood. You know, with Sylvester Stallone. They called it Rampage.
Yeah.
They did their own version of Superman.
Wow. What was that called? Do you know?
Superman.
Good name.
They did The Wizard of Oz in 1971.
Right.
Their own version of it.
Somewhat late.
Without any hanging munchkins.
No.
They did their own Exorcist.
All right.
It was called Satan, Seytan, and it wasn't quite as vulgar as our version. There was no real bad language in it.
All right.
They did their own Star Trek in 1973, and when I said they did Star Trek 1973, it was based on the original series.
Oh right, yeah.
But somebody did mention on the on YouTube just under it that this is what they preferred, the 1973 one, and they said for reasons look at 1 minute 36 seconds.
Yeah.
Because the skirts were extremely short. In fact, they didn't cover anything.
What, on the Turkish one?
On the women, yeah.
Oh really?
Wow.
You have to put a link to that on the website.
They did.
Incidentally, did you know that there are people out there? I noticed the other day when I was looking at some Trekkie thing. There are people out there who have made entire Star Trek fan movies, feature-length fan movies.
Funny you should mention that.
With effects, uniforms, props, sets.
Yeah.
And they're long.
They're pretty good.
They're rubbish.
Oh, they're rubbish.
Would be the word I would use. Utter crap. They've got but they've got a budget. They've been spending their own money on these things.
Have you happened to see the porn version of Batman and Robin?
I'm making the note of it. Batman and Robin.
And I think they did one of Star Trek. There's a new thing in the porn world. They're making pornographic versions of our favourite cultural icons.
Just before I go and Google this, is it Batman and Robin gay porn?
No, it's Batman and Robin.
Because that would be
No, it's straight.
what
porn.
you would imagine.
Straight porn.
Right.
Batman has it off a lot.
This is a bit weird because Batman and Robin are obviously quite
No.
gay.
No, they're not gay in the porn.
They're gay icons.
In the pornographic.
No, I know that,
yeah.
but in the mainstream world, they're kind of gay icons.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If you were going to go to some kind of gay Mardi Gras, Batman and Robin would be acceptable costumes to go in. Put it that way.
Oh yeah, and you'd be very, very popular.
Yeah. Especially those assless chaps that you wear around the place.
What else did they do? They did E.T. as well. It's worth having
Yeah.
a look on YouTube. But I'm just the thing I don't understand is when they made their own version of Star Wars.
I did look up some of these. They were bad.
You did, didn't you? Eh? you got curious, didn't you?
I got a bit
and you don't
curious.
usually follow my lead.
I don't usually,
Ever.
no, because they're usually to do with somebody who invented something boring.
But how on earth they got away with this? They actually used footage from George Lucas's Star Wars.
All the space stuff they just robbed.
And there's another thing. The lead actor, there's a Rocky-type training montage in the middle of the film.
In Star Wars.
In the Turkish Star Wars. And it's the hero of the film. Now, he's a very Turkish-looking guy, black hair. And I've written here, what have I got written here about it? Something I want to mention. Punching rocks and slapping sand. This is part of the training thing.
Yes.
He's punching rocks and he splits a rock with his hand. And at one point in it, he actually ties some rocks to his legs and goes running with them. But I think the funniest thing about it is the music.
I imagine.
The music is actually
From Rocky?
from Indiana Jones.
Oh my God.
So they've in this film,
John Williams is going to kick their ass.
they've ripped off George Lucas.
Yeah.
They've ripped off Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
And but still better than episode 1.
Everything is better than episode 1.
And I've written under here about.
I've flushed away things that are better than episode 1.
I've written a note here about all of these Turkish remakes.
Yes.
All better than Twilight.
Yeah, all better than that, yeah. I want to tell you something interesting.
Okay.
I was looking stuff up the other day. Actually, I want to just do a quick one first of all. Did you know that the American state name Idaho is in fact a made-up word? They were picking a name for that state, and somebody in the room thought they'd have a laugh and tell them that it was a Native American word. I forgot what it meant now, like state of plenty or something nice. And they went, oh yeah, that's a good name, yeah, we'll do that. And it was adopted as a province name and then later the state name. Later on they found out that they'd made it all up. It's complete gibberish.
Hey,
if you live in Idaho, it means nothing.
It means nothing at all.
It sounds like a Native American
That's a bit
word, doesn't it?
disappointing. Well done to Rick Manvan last week.
He's not actually a man van, he's a van man.
Rick Van Man?
Yeah.
Rick Van.
Because if he was a man van, then he'd actually be a man.
Well, Rick, well done on guessing the mystery.
He did. The mystery song. Oh, shall I play it? I've got it queued up. Hang on, let me just... Oh dear, fuss.
Well done on guessing the answer, and well done on actually entering.
He did, and here it is. Do. Do. Here it comes, here's the chorus. Do. For anybody who doesn't know what this is, you're clearly not anywhere near nerdy enough. It was in fact the music from the 1980s Sega game and also arcade game Outrun,
Correct.
a car racing game.
And a big hello to Jupiter Returns, also chipping in with his top 5s as
If
well.
you want to play some old arcade games, I'm looking at the screen now for your entertainment. If you go to our website, www.alternativefutureradio.com, there's a links section on the front page near the bottom, and one of them says arcade games. And a lot of the games that we sometimes reference in this program, there's a link there to a website. We can play them all on the website.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. Outrun's not one of them, but, you know, what do you want, blood? I want to mention something here. I want to tell you about Harold von Braunhut.
Okay. Not ringing any bells with me at the moment.
Actually, this is kind of a Jewish theme today, because he wasn't actually born with that name. He was originally Harold Braunhut, I think.
To be fair, isn't it funny how you feel a bit like you're walking on eggshells when you're mentioning
That's
anything?
politically correctness. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Harold von Braunhut, right? This gets weird. Harold von Braunhut, never heard of him?
No.
Inventor. March 1926, died in 2003. He was Harold Nathan Braunhut, is what he was born as. He he held 195 patents. He held the patent for X-ray specs.
Yeah.
Which claimed they could see
which
through things.
I am familiar with.
You'll be familiar with all of these things, which clearly didn't work. He also invented invisible goldfish, which were non-existent fish that were guaranteed to remain permanently invisible.
Mm-hmm.
He did the amazing hair-raising monsters, which was a card with a monster printed on it, and hair would grow in the forms of crystals and things, which were added to the card.
Familiar.
Crazy crabs, which were actually hermit crabs that they were selling as toys.
Mm.
And his...
What, live crabs?
One would assume so.
Oh, my God.
His piece de la resistance, he actually is the guy who invented sea monkeys.
Yeah, and now
sea monkeys.
Do you know what sea
sea
how
monkeys?
Can you explain sea monkeys?
Ladies and gentlemen,
to people?
sea monkeys.
In the back of Marvel Comics, I was so convinced that they were selling little people.
Yeah.
That I could grow in a fish tank.
Did you see the South Park episode about the sea monkeys? They called it sea people.
I think I did, yeah.
Yeah, he mixed it with sea men.
Oh, God.
And
yeah,
his equation was sea people plus sea men equals sea civilization.
Yeah.
And they evolved in this fish tank and started having wars.
But in South Park, it actually worked the way I thought it was going to work.
Yeah, it was quite
I
funny.
thought they were little fish people that were, this is the way it was advertised.
In your mid-20s.
Yeah, it was.
They were actually brine shrimp. They weren't millions of years old or anything particularly interesting. They're all brand new.
But
Bubble burst.
The things that they were advertising, what were they? I thought they were just paper and they expanded in water. Or...
No. They are living creatures. I've had some.
Oh, really?
Did you never buy any?
No.
You can still get them from a toy shop. They sell them in Toys R Us. They're little tiny creatures, and they grow to about an inch long.
Yeah.
And they look a bit like an armadillo type thing, but with a tail. And they swim and they eat stuff. They live for about a month if you feed them well, and I don't know if they reproduce, but they're apparently some kind of shrimp.
Isn't that a bit cruel to sell them in a toy shop?
Well, they're dried, dehydrated eggs, and you add water and they come to life.
That's fascinating.
They're fantastic.
Amazing?
You should buy some sea monkeys. You've not lived. Nobody listening to within the sound of my voice, ladies and gentlemen, nobody has lived until they've ordered and owned sea monkeys.
They'll be very, very familiar to our American friends anyway.
It generated fan websites, a television series, and a video game, and astronaut John Glenn took 4 million amazing sea monkeys into space in 1998.
And what happened?
I've no idea. I assume they've taken over the place. Here's where it gets weird. This guy is he's a Jewish American guy. I think he came from where are we? Where is he from? I think he had got sort of Germanic roots, grandfather, great-grandfather, something like that, somewhere in Europe. However, according to the Washington Post, despite his Jewish ethnicity, he had a close association with white supremacist groups buying firearms for the Ku Klux Klan. He also attended Aryan Nation annual conferences. Let me see, there's one here. In 1988, in an interview with the Seattle Times, he referred to the, quote, inscrutable, slanty Korean eyes of the Korean shopkeepers. Let me see. You know what side I'm on. I don't make any bones about it, is what he said.
And he was Jewish.
Yeah. What's all that about?
I don't know. He didn't like foreigners.
Strange. But he's a member of the Aryan Nations Society. What? You have to wonder what the hell's going through these people's minds.
He didn't like Jewish people either, even though he was Jewish.
Self-destructive much?
Yeah, I don't know. It's odd.
So yeah, have you got anything else on your list?
People are strange.
They are strange.
No, I haven't really. I've got satanic calendar, and I'm just not in the mood for doing it.
Okay, I'll tell you another interesting thing then, shall I? I wanted to talk to you about an event in Ireland.
Oh, yeah.
This was in the papers the other day. Somebody mentioned it to me. I've not read it myself, but I got the gist of it. There have been sort of risk assessments and plans drawn up to use Dublin Castle as the seat of government in Ireland.
Yeah, I've been there.
They're normally in the imaginatively titled government buildings, unquote, which is just a big block building in the middle of the town centre, basically. But Dublin Castle, of course, would probably have been built, I assume, by British kings or something.
Yeah, correct, yeah.
Thus, therefore, probably, I assume, I've never seen it, I assume it's fortified and on the top of a hill, would be my guess.
It's really nice. But it's in the centre of the
Is it really?
city,
Yeah.
but it's really nice, yeah.
But you're not going to get in there if you don't, it's going to be hard. But yeah, they're drawing up plans to get move the government there in the event that they can't get to or use government buildings. Now, why would you do that?
I'm seeing something here.
Why would you make up such a plan?
Because they've had a lot of flack from people turning up at the gates, angry mobs.
Yeah.
Week after week.
There was the guy who turned up with the cement mixer, the cement mixer truck. I imagine it's probably only a matter of months, maybe years, until somebody turns up with the next one full of fertiliser.
Well, if Dublin Castle is what I'm thinking it is, it's a load of buildings in an enclosed. They've got a courtyard, and it's walled, and there's
compound,
gates, so they can keep you out.
Green zone much?
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, they're drawing up plans for that.
Oh, they're jumping ship. They're getting where the dirty rabble can't get to them.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
And probably in advance of something that's coming up in the Republic of Ireland on May the 31st. I think it's probably something we should address today.
Yes. The referendum.
The fiscal treaty.
Yes, there is.
Vote yes for financial stability.
Yeah, apparently.
Vote yes. Vote yes.
Vote yes for jobs. Don't forget yes. Who could forget yes for jobs?
And I think, as we're always saying, Mark, I mean, we're not here to preach to the converted. So let's try and communicate to people who might think it's a good idea to vote yes and why they shouldn't.
Yes.
I don't know, I'm laying a lot on you there.
Yeah. Well, the number one reason why I would hope that people would vote no, primarily because, well, the EU is essentially becoming a dictatorship, if it wasn't from the very beginning, and anything to do with them, I think, should be a no. But going back to the actual treaty itself, I think the ability to give the European Union the permission to impose sanctions on a member state for not complying with the European Union's financial obligations. If your debt equals beyond a certain percentage of GDP, this treaty, if signed and comes into law, will give them permission to impose sanctions on you.
Yes.
What the hell's that about? I thought we were all supposed to be friends in this little arrangement.
Well, my explanation...
Sanctions? That sounds like Iran. That doesn't sound like friends.
Yeah, I mean,
that's not friends, surely.
My way of looking at it with the EU is that... when all power becomes centralised, it doesn't matter if you protest on the streets of your country.
No.
Because all decisions are made in Brussels.
Anyway.
And you're not going to get busloads of people flying to Brussels.
It already is, yeah.
I mean, there's actually been decisions overturned by people power.
Lots of it, yeah.
A lot of the time.
Yeah.
But
there have also been lots of local laws that have been overturned by European courts.
Oh, I know. I understand that. But and then my second reason I would give would be... my opinion of the EU, it's a sort of a structure where they're developing all these laws and taxes, carbon tax, property tax, septic tax, water charges. Yeah. It's a money-making racket.
It is, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's fascism. Call a spade, yeah. Or in this case, a hatchet wrapped in sticks.
Oh, and the other point is what Ireland should remember is Lisbon. Always remember the Lisbon Treaty.
How did that work out for you?
Okay, so you voted no the first time, which was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And then you were told that your vote wasn't good enough. It wasn't the answer they wanted.
Yeah.
So you have to vote again.
The same thing happened at Maastricht as well. They had to get a re-vote for that.
Well, you just think about that. Yeah. You didn't give the right answer.
Yeah. Who the hell do they think they are?
Right.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, and
the second one, have you ever met anybody who voted yes? I haven't.
Well, I haven't, and I have heard about this thing about...
Not convinced that wasn't a no, to be honest.
Yeah, it was fixed, is what they're saying.
I'll probably put my neck out, and I think it was fixed.
Well, to be fair...
I'm pretty sure it was fixed, to be honest.
Yeah, they had a fair go at scaremongering for the second time around, media scaremongering.
And in fairness, it would be very easy to fix, because they don't count the ballots on the day of the election. They put them in a house, a building somewhere, and they count them the day after. They also don't have transparent ballot boxes.
They're left overnight.
Yeah.
Where anybody could get to them.
Yeah. But I mean, why would you have solid black metal ballot boxes? Why not transparent perspex so we can see that they're empty when we're voting?
Why not transparent?
I'd like to be the first person in there to see that they're empty. It stinks.
There's too much scope for fraud.
Completely. Speaking of power and absolute power corrupting, I wanted to talk about something I saw on the news earlier in the week. I saw Prince Harry, God bless him, I saw Prince Harry receiving an award from Colin Powell. I'm not calling him Colin, it's stupid.
Just think arse, colon, or colon.
Exactly, yeah. He was receiving an award from him, and I thought, oh, well, yeah, that's interesting. I wonder what he's done. He's, one general giving another soldier an award. I wonder what that's for. It was actually by the by. It didn't really matter. Who cares? But I looked at the sign in the background, and it said something like Ideas, Influence, Impact, or something along those lines. Mm-hmm. And it was the Atlantic Council, it said. Mm-hmm. And
so begs the question, what the hell is the
Atlantic Council? Yeah. So I looked up the Atlantic Council, and let me just get my piece of paper here. Based in Washington, D.C., started in 1961. It's really got connections all over the place. The people who are in it are the who's who of all sorts of organisations. I'm just looking here at some of the people who are in it. Get this. February 29th, James L. Jones, not to be confused, he stepped down as I think he was the chairman, to take up a position as Obama's national security advisor. Mm-hmm. So, that's interesting. Council member Susan Rice, she left to become the ambassador to the UN. Richard Holbrooke, he became special representative to Afghanistan and Pakistan. General Eric K. Shinseki became Secretary for Veterans Affairs. Anne-Marie Slaughter, good name, became Director of Policy Planning at the State Department. These are all people who've been in the Atlantic Council, who have now seemingly got rather good jobs out of the whole thing. One would have to wonder how they, did they start with power or did they move into power? It's really weird. It's claimed to be sort of non-partisan and all that kind of stuff. I couldn't find any reference to funding. Who's paying these people? Not really sure. It's got a charter that says it's supposed to be independent of the US government and NATO, even though it's in Washington, D.C. Mm-hmm. Let me just have a little look here. It's all sorts of people who have appeared there. Richard Lugar, John Kerry. Mikhail Saakashvili, who is the president of Georgia.
Sorry to interrupt.
Ukrainian Prime Minister Viktor Yushchenko. Yeah.
I'm at the back page here.
Now, bear with me. Don't go ruining my punchlines on me.
Okay.
Don't go ruining my punchlines. Okay. There are programs and elements and things that it does. Moving on, they've got a Young Atlanticist society, which I love. Emerging leaders who share a vision of a closer Euro-Atlantic cooperation. I love that term, emerging leaders. So basically they know who they are.
So they're deciding who the leaders.
Yeah, they know who they are, based on common values. There's a British and North American committee, which is part of it, meet regularly, major economic, scientific, policy issues, mutual concern, top policymakers and scientists, business leaders. The Telegraph called the committee influential and highly respected in its research, and its research was authoritative. Then we get to the list of who's in it. And this is where it gets very, very interesting.
Okay.
There's a list here. There's the leadership and members and scholars.
Yep.
On the front page there, we've got Chuck Hagel, Brent Scrowcroft, Frederick Kemp, so on and so forth. Do you see that list there?
I see.
Yep.
Yeah, I've got it right here.
Couldn't find anything about any of them.
That's
Nothing.
unusual.
Nothing. The only reference I could find to them was that website. Nothing. Couldn't find anything about them.
What do you think? No such persons, or...?
I think that a lot of them are probably just... Again, this is the whole thing. People keep talking about New World Orders and people who in secret governments, that kind of thing, and they ban these names around. I have often said the real power is probably with people who are so secretive you'll not know their names. They'll stay invisible.
That's something we've discussed.
That would be the smart thing to do.
Yeah.
And these people are invisible. But then you get to the board of directors.
Yeah.
One name leaps off the page. You say it.
Henry Kissinger. Let me say it.
Yep.
Henry Kissinger.
Yep. Highlighted.
Well, if he's involved, it's bad.
It gets worse. I'll try and keep up with my... this is where it gets weird. First guy, Robert Abernathy.
Okay.
That name seemed familiar to me, so I looked it up. He's an Australian swimmer.
All right.
Couldn't find any reason why he would be on the board of such a thing at all.
Of such a huge thing.
Don't get it.
I mean, Kissinger makes perfect sense.
No, yeah. Timothy D. Adams. He's an ex-George W. Bush employee.
Ah.
Ralph Barner. Nothing about him online. Couldn't find him. Wesley K. Clark. He, for some mysterious reason, although he's an American, has got a knighthood. He's been awarded the whatever the full title of the knighthood is.
Is that allowed to get a knighthood?
No, you can get an honorary one as a non-British citizen, but it doesn't say honorary on it. It's
Wesley
very strange.
K. Clark.
Yeah, very strange. He is a co-chair of an ethanol lobbying group, and he's also a director at BNK Petroleum. Mm-hmm. Paula Dubriansky.
Yes.
She's big on climate change. There's a few patterns going to emerge
Big on
in
it,
this.
is she?
Yeah. Henry Kissinger, we all know his views.
Say no more.
Judith Miller. This is an interesting one. She's a journalist. She's also on the Council of Foreign Relations, CFR.
Nice.
She is the author of the report which led to the American government's claim that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction.
Ah.
And in 2001, she was the person that fake anthrax was sent to in a hoax where they evacuated loads of buildings and such like. That was her.
That's very interesting.
Very weird. Alexander Merchiev. Couldn't find anything about him of any note. James Schlesinger. CIA.
CIA.
Yep. Big on peak oil and energy, again.
What a selection.
Walter Slocum. Department of Defense, CFR, Council on Foreign Relations.
Council on Foreign Relations, yeah.
Now, here is a weird one. David A. Wilson. And all I've written next to it is deleted. There's everything about him is just gone. I found references to him, but nothing was there.
You found reference to him?
Yeah, but it's just
but
not, all the
nothing
pages
about
were gone.
him.
All the pages were gone.
Odd.
Now, let me try and pronounce this Polish name. Maciej Witczuk? Nothing. No information. James Woolsey?
James Woolsey.
Yeah. Oh, hang on. Let me just get rid of this volume. There we are. Right. He was Director of Intelligence. He's one of the neocons. He was a CIA director, and he focused on energy policy. He was also one of the authors of the Project for the New American Century. Mm-hmm. This is where it gets weird. He has got links to a radical sort of Jewish group called the Clarion Fund.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, they funded something, and I think he's the guy. I think he actually went to jail for something, misleading Congress, if memory serves. Mm-hmm. Next one, Dov S. Zackheim. He worked for Bush Jr. in defense, and he's also on the Council on Foreign Relations, as always.
Not surprising.
He was given the task, I don't know if he succeeded, of finding the missing $2 billion that the Department of Defense in America lost, which they announced the week of 9/11, didn't they? And that news got forgotten. And the last one on there, Anthony C. Zinni, not got much on him other than the fact that he is Counsel on Foreign Relations.
Council on Foreign Relations has been a bit of a bugbear with me.
Yeah.
It's meant to be a group of... Hillary Clinton is also on it.
Yep.
It's meant to be a sort of a think tank.
Yeah. This is described as a think tank as well.
Yeah, well, with so many of them, Mark.
Yeah, oh, yeah, lots of them.
So many think tanks. Just a beneficial think tank for important people to get together to decide policy for the rest of us.
Yeah.
But we should be totally trusting of them because, of course, anything they want to do for us is for our own good.
Obviously, clearly.
But I'm very familiar with Club of Rome and the Council on Foreign Relations and all this, the Bilderberg Group and you name it. But this is new. This is brand new.
Yeah.
This Atlantic
New one on
Council.
me. New one on me. Do you know what's worse?
No.
We're up to time.
Oh. But we're going to come back to this.
We're definitely going to come back to this. We're going to
Because,
investigate this a lot more. This is a new one on
We
me.
don't want Alex Jones nicking it.
He's
off
going to
with-
scupper us, no doubt.
Yeah, no, this is something we found out.
Yeah.
Along with the Nazi,
Yeah.
with the Nazi thing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Very,
stuff.
very, very, very strange.
Yeah, we're going to have a better look into this.
Yeah, some very weird stuff going on there. I'm going to do a little sort of crime scene wall chart type thing and see if I can link any of
Yeah.
these people up. See if I can find information on them, because so many of them, got no presence at all.
Yeah, it's like they don't exist, or they do exist, but they're very, very, very
Shadow
secret.
people.
Very secret.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just shadow people
Yeah. That is it, everybody. Sorry to leave you on an interesting bomb.
on a bummer.
Yeah. But yeah, we're going to go back into that. I've got more to say about that,
Okay,
and
we-
we'll probably find out more as we delve deeper.
We'll cover more on it next week. Next
So
time.
many stuff I didn't cover. I wanted to talk about the G8 and the NATO summit. Wanted to talk about Greece. Want to
Yeah.
talk about sexism against men in commercials. Want to talk about phone hacking. Want to talk about Stargates. I wanted to talk about the King Hussein of Jordan.
People are going to be disappointed that you didn't talk about that.
They're just things that were on my list that I didn't even get to. That's how full my list is.
Instead, we were talking about Turkish Star Wars.
And I've got this and this. Piles of them. Piles and piles and piles.
You got an enormous stack.
Yeah. That's it. We're out of here.
Okay, see you next time.
Bye-bye, everybody.
From the alternative to the mainstream, from the ridiculous to the sublime. Ladies and gentlemen, we bring you the audio delight that is the After Hours Show with Basil and Mark.
You're listening to Alternative Future Radio, home of the weird, resting place of the paranormal. We'll take you to the furthest reaches of the galaxy and beyond. Strange phenomena, aliens, psychics, cryptozoology, conspiracy, holistic health, and UFOs. Alternative Future Radio, where spooky just got weird.
Well, they invented one thing.
No, not quite so.
Oh, really? There's more?
Mike Nesmith
Oh, do tell me.
invented MTV.
MTV. Can you invent a TV program?
It's not a TV program; it's a channel, isn't
Well,
it?
a channel, yeah.
Yeah, Mike Nesmith. He's
It's not technically inventor, is it? It's more creator.
he's known as the stepfather of MTV.
The stepfather? Who's the father?
I don't know.
Who's the daddy?
Hey, that's a good one. Who's the father? If he's the stepfather, yeah.
And who's the mother?
Well, he sold.
There must be a mother if there's a stepfather.
I don't know. He's Mike Nesmith of the Monkees.
Yes.
He invented MTV.
Right. So MTV is the bastard child of somebody we don't even know.
You know who? Yes. Yeah, we don't know who the mother is. We don't know who the mother is. Yeah, he sold a half-hour pilot for a video show called Vox Pops
Oh, yes, yeah.
to Time Warner.
Ah.
And they hammered it out into what was to become known as MTV. Quite
Wow.
interesting. So, there you go.
Invent much else?
No, that's it.
So not really what you'd call an inventive family, just two things. One each.
Holy cow, Tipex and MTV. Pretty awesome.
Tipex? When's the last time you used Tipex?
What did you invent?
I invented UV glasses.
UV stick.
I invented... No, that's you who's it. I invented UV protection for sunglasses. I invented that when I was 12, and everybody laughed and took no notice of me. And I went, oh, okay, fair enough, it must be a stupid idea.
You didn't patent it, though, did you? And
No.
claim a
No.
fortune, hence
I
we're
showed
sitting
people.
here.
I showed people how it worked. I said, "Here's the simple physics of it," and I showed them it, and they went, "Yeah, that would work."
Do you know how we were talking last week about Betty and Barney
Rubble.
Rubble? Yeah, honest to God, yeah. The two who were abducted by aliens.
Yes.
No, I've forgotten that. But Miller in 1961, and that's where the this thing about the Greys came from.
Yes.
With the that was the first illustration or
Twas.
ident.
Oh yeah.
From the alternative to the mainstream, from the ridiculous to the sublime. Ladies and gentlemen, we bring you the audio delight that is the After Hours Show with Basil and Mark.
Are you feeling smooth, Basil?
Have we started?
We're started.
Oh, good. Hello.
We're smooth, everybody.
Good morning.
Good evening. And good afternoon. Do you remember the Saudi Arabian greeting?
No,
Me neither.
that's way back now. But
It's been a while now. But good morning and afternoon and evening to Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia.
Our number one downloader
Europe,
for reasons we do not understand.
And Africa.
Yes.
How are you today?
I think they're okay. I think they'll manage.
I think.
I've got a load of stuff written down here. I've got a pile of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, so have I.
Go on, you go first then, because mine's more interesting. I'll save mine for later.
I think I want to address the abuse I've had on YouTube.
Abuse? YouTube abuse? Who would have thought that you'd get abuse on YouTube?
The laughter and the ridicule that I've suffered since the last show.
What did you do?
Since the guitarist and superglue incident.
Ah, yes, yes.
And I just want to make this clear that I was in fact quite correct.
Yes,
about, Mike Nesmith.
Nesmith, yes.
Guitarist of the Monkees.
Yes.
And his mother.
Mm-hmm.
Betty Nesmith Graham, inventor of liquid paper.
Uh-huh.
Tipex.
Yeah.
His mother invented it.
Mm-hmm.
She sold the idea to the Gillette Corporation in 1979 for $47.5 million.
Wow.
And then she died in 1980.
Fascinating.
An inventive family, the Smiths.
Just is that I would do it.
Oh, that you wouldn't do it.
Yeah. Do you know the big arches that they show you on the news at the High Courts in London? The big sort of ornate archway?
I know it very well.
They're always standing
It's
outside
in
it.
Victoria, the Royal Courts, isn't it?
I'm not sure where it is, actually, to be honest with you. I think it was it Embankment I got off at, or Strand or somewhere, I can't remember. But
Go on.
I went through the thing there and through the metal detectors and wandered off to my courtroom.
Yeah. I'm not going to say how, but I do know the High Court.
Yeah. Okay, so that was it. It reminded me the other day.
Well, I guess we're banging on about sayings a bit today, but there's a saying that Reagan had.
Yeah.
Not 1 red cent. Have you ever heard him say that?
I have heard that, yeah.
Do you know in what context he...
I think it was
Lord.
to do with the...
You weren't meant to answer.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you what I think.
Yes,
my understanding is...
Yes, you tell me your understanding.
It was regarding the Federal Reserve.
Right.
And the Federal Reserve in America is a private bank. It's not remotely federal.
No.
Correct?
Correct.
Okay. That's a hard concept now to get through to people. Am I being clear enough on that?
Go to if you live in New York, go to your phone book and look in the government section and try and find the Federal Reserve in New York.
Yeah.
You'll not find it. It's under the commercial pages.
It's not remotely federal.
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do.
No, it's not.
It's basically what it is. It's a private bank that the government owes money to.
It's owned by J.P. Morgan, Warburgs, Rockefellers, all those people. Yeah.
And the government are the American U.S. government are in constant debt to the Federal Reserve.
Yes, the more they print, the more in debt they are.
Yeah,
because they can only pay them back in the money that they borrow from them.
So what Reagan was saying...
What a great scam.
What Reagan said when he was saying 1 red cent, he was saying that all of the tax money that you pay does not go into infrastructure and hospitals and roads, not 1 red cent. It's paid to the Federal Reserve.
Right.
The private bank.
Yeah.
And that's where that saying came from.
What's red about it?
Well, just red cent. I don't think there was any particular meaning in that. It's just, there's a saying, I'm down to my last red cent.
I've never heard that one.
It just means...
I've heard him saying not interesting story about Barbie.
How interesting.
It's reasonably interesting. I'm not allowed to own a Barbie doll. This is a personal story.
Okay.
I'm not allowed to own a Barbie, ever.
Right. Oh, you did something to it.
Because if I did own one, or even held one, and got photographed next to one, I'd be in contravention of a High Court injunction in England.
Really?
Yes.
Well, how could that be? This is quite... I'm intrigued.
Somebody actually mentioned something the other day that spurred me on. He was talking about... I think he was talking about Klaus Barbie. I forgot who it was that we were talking to. Some interview we were doing. I can't remember who it was now. I bought Barbie.co.uk years ago. We were talking about buying domains the other day with... Who was it? I can't remember who it was. And I bought Barbie...
It was Paul Gershio.
Paul Gershio, yes.
Project,
yeah. Barbie without an E on the end. And... I emailed them and said, Mattel, this is, and said, if you're interested in buying it, let me know, because I've got lots of other interest, including a pornographer. Needless to say, they slapped a massive injunction on me, and I had to go to the High Court, where I defended myself because I had no money.
Okay.
And basically, I just buckled. I'd literally got no money. I had to get them to pay for the tube fare and for my lunch to go there.
But who prosecuted you? Did they have
Mattel.
they had their own solicitor in the High Court?
They had already accrued £17,000 worth of fees by the time the injunction had got to my house and I knew anything about it.
Wow.
They got a High Court justice to sit the same day and dispatch an injunction, which must have cost them a fortune. And they were suing me for, I think it was $125 million for losses until the end of time.
If you didn't desist, is that it?
Yeah.
So you desist pretty
I desisted
quickly.
a lot.
Yeah. But it's lucky they didn't take any.
I had literally no money. There wasn't anything they could have taken.
Wow. That's interesting. Anything else?
No, that was it, really. Yeah, that was pretty much the end of the story.
There's another saying.
Yeah. I had to go to the High Court to swear in front of the...
Education of the Greys.
Go on.
Well, there's another interesting saying.
Yes.
And we were talking about Jim Jones, Reverend Jim Jones.
I remember you mentioning his name. What did he do again?
Well, he was I was going to say he invented. I better stop saying invented.
Remind us, listeners, who the hell is Jim
Well,
Jones?
Jim Jones. He had a church.
Well, he's a reverend, so that's
in the 70s.
Yes.
In America, and basically he flew to Guyana, I think, in South America. Am I right?
Yes.
And he
French Guyana.
he built his own town there called Jonestown for his followers.
He's the cultist guy, isn't he?
He's the cultist guy. And it became known as the Jonestown Massacre.
Yes, we did it on this day for him last time, didn't we?
We sure did.
Now I
And,
remember him.
909 people committed suicide.
Wow.
909. It was
That's a lot of Kool-Aid.
Now, you shouldn't have said that, because you kind of ruined me now, because...
No, that's not how they killed them, is it?
yeah.
No way!
Oh, wow. They had they had tanks and tanks.
I knew nothing about this until just now.
They had tanks of Kool-Aid filled with cyanide, and all of the followers drank it. And this is where you get the saying from, don't drink the Kool-Aid. It was from the Jonestown Massacre, but you ruined it. You jumped in there before I had it. I was just building up to it.
Crapped on your punchline.
You sure did. See, have I got anything else written here? No, there's no point now.
That's funny.
It's called the People's Temple, but actually it was... I always was under the impression it was a religious commune in South America, but actually it was communism.
Yeah.
He made that clear. It was all about communism.
Communes are communist.
Yeah, commune.
Ist.
Yes, yeah. What have you got on your stack there?
Actually, I've got a lot of stuff here that I've been carrying over for ages. One of them that I was going to talk about, let me see. I want to talk about... What will I do? I want to talk about Barbie.
Oh, yeah.
I've got an